Today, I'm going to talk about the medicinal use of cannabis. Hello, everyone. My name is Randy CAINE, and I'm the humble grower. Cannabis is now legal in Canada, and I'm here to show you what I know about this amazing plant. Yes, cannabis can be used medicinally. And what could it be used for? Well, it's quite an array. Basic pain relief, anxiety relief, helping you sleep at nighttime, calming nerves, alleviating some of the pain and discomfort of somebody that has got cancer. I'm not sitting here saying any of this is a cure. I want to correct that right away. This is not about snake oil. This is about something that is bona fide, that they're starting to really see how it feeds back. I've worked with medicinal cannabis for the last 20 years, and on a first-hand experience, I've seen how it improves people's quality of life. And I think that's really the foremost consideration when we look at the use of cannabis medicinally, regardless of what your moral opinion might be, or regardless of what the laws and regulations might be in your community or even in your country. When we're talking about this, we're talking about quality of life for people. These illnesses that can come later in life, whether that be just, the process of aging, sore, achy bones, digestive issues, can't sleep very well. I started a business many, many years ago, and of course I was arrested and raided, and eventually it went to the court, and this was helping people access cannabis for medicine. I learned firsthand by watching them. We still support people in our community that way. It's, like I say, I can't sit here and say it's the be-all and end-all. It can be used in a variety of fashions. I found for myself, and this is a personal story, several years ago I was diagnosed with the big C. And it wasn't being cute. It was actually cancer. The experience that I had for the 20 years prior of helping and supporting people that had medical necessity gave me knowledge, gave me understandings that I now could utilize in terms of my wellness, my recovery. And yes, I did recover, and I'm not going to say it was due to cannabis, but I will say my recovery was aided by that. I went through a whole array of things. I still suffer from, because of the damage up in my shoulder from the tumor, took out nerves and such things like that. I have neuropathy. I have, different problems with the nerves. I get tingling and things like this. Just a couple of puffs in the morning off of a vaporizer, which is utilizing sort of a cannabis, extract. 2-3 puffs, it calms it down. What that's allowed me to do is not having to take pharmaceuticals, because this is long term. This isn't like I just got a sore back today. That might be fine. If my back was sore, they give me a pain reliever. I take it for a few days. Randy's feeling good. This is for the rest of my life. So many of the conditions that we work with in terms of medical access are people that is really about medical necessity. So I'm not trying to I want to make this also very clear, it's not about pharmaceuticals over cannabis. It's about pharmaceuticals and cannabis, how well they can work together. So I don't want anybody to think I'm picking one side or the other. They really do work well. The problem that I think we face in terms of pharmaceuticals is we've become way too reliant upon them. And what I mean by that, we seem to believe that this pain reliever that we take today will continue to help us for the rest of our lives. We lean on them heavily. And as we know, that's not the truth. What happens is that this pain reliever might be great for the first, year or whatever, but next thing you got to take 2. Then the next thing you know, and we've all seen this with people that are on meds, the next thing they're just basically dumbing themselves down so they don't feel the pain or they don't feel the discomfort. The wonderful thing is with the use of cannabis is that will alleviate many of the day-to-day discomforts, many of the day-to-day anxieties. But now when maybe you have a really bad day where that pain, that arthritis or whatever it is has really flared up, you now then can return to that pharmaceutical that was like a bloody godsend the first time you take it. And now that you're not relying on that, it will have the full impact that it once did. This is why I say I don't support one over the other. I think we've just leaned way too heavily on pharmaceuticals. I also don't think we should lean heavily on cannabis. I had people told me when I first was diagnosed that, oh no, I should just only use cannabis, I should be eating it, I should be, putting it in my ears, stuffing it up my butt, I should be bathing in it, and my God, I will be well within weeks. I didn't buy into it, and nor should you. Educate yourself, come to understand. I've talked with my oncologist about this, and they were a little reluctant even at the beginning with my use, but they came to see that very likely this was part of what could be considered the soup that got me to where I am. Could I point at one over the other? Was it chemo? Was it radiation? Was it? No, I would like to say it was all. I didn't turn down one thing. Once again, it's not about snake oil, but it does have a place, and increasingly we're understanding that. Fortunately in Canada, because now cannabis has become legalized or at least regulated, there's much greater inquiry, much greater discussion within the health field of what this may do for people moving forward. You've got to understand that how it worked with prohibition is that it limited even research. They were not able to get the funding to try to find this out. This is why you hear, they say it's just anecdotal stories, about that it helps with arthritis. Anecdotal, if you hear it 100 times, is it an anecdote? That ought to be done in a research setting where you can say, no, we had 100 people, and my gosh. This is how we work with them. This is how I've learned, even for my own use and my own wellness. But how I work with people is that my experience of supporting people, hundreds, if not thousands of people over the years, is I've come to understand what may work, what the dosage might be. No different than you taking an aspirin. You know that if you take 1 or 2 aspirins, it's probably going to feel pretty good about that if you've got a bit of a pain. That is actually how cannabis can be looked at and utilized from that fashion. So, I like to really say that, if you've got people in your family, your grandparents, your parents, even yourself, even your children, if there are things within cannabis that might help them along the way, don't look at it as something that you're going to, look at as the second or third or fourth or 10th line of defense. If you're willing to take an aspirin, be willing to look at cannabis. More people die yearly from taking aspirin than do from taking cannabis. There's never been one death. So I guess on the upside of what I could say, if you're using it medicinally, it may or may not work for you, but it's not going to hurt you. Give it a try. Thanks very much. See you again soon. I hope you found this useful. I would also recommend that you watch the documentary Demystifying Cannabis on Canada's legalization. You can access that by clicking on the link below.